Hello everyone, welcome back to Soccer Showdown. You might as well call it the Joe Show today. I am joined by the one and only Joe D, and of course, as always, I am Joe Archino. We have a little bit of a special set today because the Manchester Derby has captured so much attention. Joe D, we had a 0-0 draw. Not the most exciting in the world, but I think a lot of people are very interested in the long-term implications behind both of these clubs. We've kind of seen there be a lot of pain and difficulties, and some successes for all the clubs as well. Who do you think has positioned themselves for better success next season?
Well, Joe, before we get right into next season, talking about just this derby in general, like you said, not very exciting at all. 0-0 draw. Manchester City nearly taking the victory at the end in stoppage time. A goal disallowed, offsides call, a little altercation post-match, but overall not an exciting match. But if you look to the future, and you look at next year, I really think that Manchester City is built for long-term success under Pep Guardiola. You look at what he did with Barcelona, and he really revamped that team. And now, granted, he had the players to make it happen. And quite frankly, Man City also has the players to make it happen. Expect Man City to spend a lot of money this offseason and acquire a lot more players. And when they do so, Joe, they will have success next year, not only in the EPL, but also in Champions League.
I think you bring up a lot of really good points, and you talked about the process for Pep Guardiola. And certainly, the goal that was disallowed, Gabriel Jesus made his triumphant return, and he came onto the scene and was just exceptional for this club. Pep Guardiola has really done a good job. You look at what he's done. He's built this on youth, and he's put a little bit of a balance with the vets as well. When you look at the young players he's collected on this team, then you kind of go across to the other side of Man United, kind of similar where they still are holding on to some of the older guys. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been sensational. We know he's had his injury, so he's going to be missing the rest of the year. But they both kind of seem to be following a similar blueprint, are they not?
Yeah, they definitely both are following that similar blueprint. And that's the blueprint to succeed, no matter what league you're in, where you're playing, who you're playing against. It's important that you have that good mix of veteran leadership and young players that could come and then take over and transition into that veteran role.
Well, we now transition, and we live and breathe for the Champions League, as do most of you, and the semifinal matchups we have are great. We're going to start off with, I think, the toughest of the bunch, and that's, of course, Atletico Madrid taking on Real Madrid. Now, we know how long it's been. It's so hard to defend your crown in this competition. Real Madrid, they squeak by against Bayern Munich. They are taking on the Atletico Madrid, who they played in the finals of last season's competition. So I'll ask you, is there any reason why we should expect anything different? Is Real Madrid just have Atletico Madrid's number?
I honestly don't think so, Joe. I think if there's one team that could beat Real Madrid, and there's plenty out there that can. We saw El Clasico this past weekend, and we'll get to a little later, and we saw Barcelona win. But I think if there's one team that could beat Real Madrid, it's Atletico. And the reason why is because of the man on the sideline, Diego Simeone. And I think he is a tactical mastermind. And he will be able to come up with a defensive game plan that will slow down this Real Madrid offense.
Very interesting points, and now we go to the other one, of course. I think Juventus got a little bit of the easier draw on that front. Monaco, I don't think any of us really saw Monaco coming out of this thing and reaching the Final Four of the competition, but they have, and they play Juventus, who undoubtedly has the best defense. They've surrendered 2 goals this entire competition. I think we talk about it so much, the value of those Italian defenders in the back line, but it just seems like fate has them secured in the finals.
I would agree with that. I think this is finally the year that Juve breaks through and wins the Champions League. And you look at that defense, and in any sport, you know the saying, defense wins championships. So I definitely think that this Juve team with that back unit is so strong and so put together, the chemistry there, the veteran leadership, that this team is going to win the Champions League. And you look at a team like Juve, and because that defense is so strong, if they score 2 goals, you could guarantee a victory. And there's not many teams in European soccer that can say that. So like you saw them do against Barcelona, they went and they scored 3 goals in the first leg. 3 goals, automatic win. 2 guarantees a win. And I'm almost comfortable saying that one goal for Juve, and they're going to end up victorious.
I have to concur. If I had to make the pick right now, how do you not go with Juve? Juve was in the finals of this competition 2 seasons ago, but how things changed. They had the defense then, maybe not the offense to back it up, but now it just seems like from the midfield to the back line of the defense to the up-front attack, they have all the pieces you need to win this competition, and it seems like this is the year where they're able to pair the Scudetto with the Champions League title. But now we'll go to our final segment, and of course, we said at El Clasico we would return to. How do we not do that? A sensational match. You and I were talking about it off the air, how much we enjoyed watching it. Messi nets the winner, and the winner also happens to be goal number 500 for Messi. So a little bit of an impressive feat there, but in the aftermath of the match, there's 4 matches left in the Liga season. Both clubs are tied right behind each other. And Barcelona is in first with 78. Real Madrid right behind them with 78. I'm going to ask you who you think is going to be able to win the league in these final 4 matches, but just your immediate aftermath thoughts of El Clasico.
That game was phenomenal. I thought about rewatching the game the minute that game ended because of how much energy, constant action. The game was physical from the start, from the first whistle. The players were getting into it, and you could just feel the energy watching it at home in your seat, just compelled. You couldn't keep your eyes off the television set. And you know what? When it comes to Messi, there's no words. Messi is Messi, and he is so talented. And now you mentioned 500 goals, and this is a guy who's about to turn 30 years old, and he has 500 goals. Quite frankly, that's legendary. That's absolutely astonishing, and he continues to prove that he is one of the best players in the world. And really, something that really bothered me leading into this match was the notion that a lot of analysts believe that maybe Messi was on his way out and he was starting to decline, and maybe it was a passing of the torch to Neymar. But quite frankly, it was a slump that every player gets in any sport, and it was foolish to think that a guy at his skill set, his stature, would be on a decline. And he showed it. That goal, the game winner in stoppage time, any perfect placement. I mean, you couldn't have written a better ending.
Don't add fuel to Messi's fire, because when you do, well, we see what happened time and time again. But now, of course, who finishes it out? It is neck and neck, 4 matches left, 78 points, both of them have. Who gets it done?
Honestly, I think this is an easy one, and I think Barcelona runs away with it. And the reason behind that is you have Real Madrid, who's tied with them, right? And then you have Atletico, who's a few points behind. They won't catch up. But the fact that Atletico and Real Madrid are both in that semifinals, you're this far in Champions League, you put all your eggs in that basket. You want to win the Champions League. That becomes the priority. Barcelona only needs to focus on La Liga. They'll be able to come up on top.
I agree with you, and I think it's one of those things where it's so hard when you reach this point to be dipping and diving into all these matches, all your lineups, trying to keep everybody healthy and fit. It's so hard to balance that. And like you said, Barcelona, they have so much momentum now coming off that match. And I think if anything, it helped them that this second matchup was this late in the season, because they needed that wake-up call at this point if they're going to secure a title, which they desperately need. And I think this is going to send off Luis Enrique with at least something on a positive note. But that is going to do it for this episode of Soccer Showdown, or the Joe Show, as we like to call it. To my left, Joe D. I'm Joe Archino. Thank you for listening, everyone.